Hello and welcome back to the Elsie version. Today we are in 2 Corinthians chapter 10. So just a really quick recap of the chapters before. Paul was writing to the Church of Corinth, and he is currently been writing them to be cheerful givers. And he talks about what you sow is what you will reap. And he also has been talking about how we are Christ's ambassadors, and he also has been saying that he has authority. So what I'm gathering from this is probably the church in Corinth has questioned whether or not he's following God. I don't know. We weren't there. But based off his writings, I'd say that's a pretty good guess that they were like, who are you, Paul? But then they also are not very cheerful givers. So I don't think they've been giving. So those are the two things that we can kind of gather from this. Okay, so we're going to read verse 13 of chapter 9 and then go into verse 1 of chapter 10. By their approval of this service, they will glorify God because of your submission that comes from your confession of gospel of Christ. This is about giving and showing. And the generosity of your contribution for them and for all the others, while they long for you and pray for you because of the surpassing grace of God upon you. Thanks be to God for his inexpressible gift. Verse 1. I, Paul, myself entreat you, by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, I who am humble when face to face with you, but bold toward you when I am away. I beg of you that when I am present, I may not have to show boldness with such confidence as I count on showing against some who suspect us of walking according to the flesh. So my guess is Paul has had many accusations come against him, which is very unfortunate, but I do think that is something common in the church. Like if you don't know them, then it's kind of like the whole, the first lie that Satan told Eve was, oh, but you could be like God, right? God doesn't really want what's best for you. And in that nagging, deceitful voice you'll find in churches. I mean, that's just unfortunate, but it is what happens. Okay, so Paul's saying that he might not have to show his boldness face to face. Although some people are, because when he's away, people are accusing him of this. So verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, though we are human, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. 2 Corinthians 10:4. 10:4. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine powers to destroy strongholds. That is so good. Okay, verse 5. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ, being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete. So, verse 5 is so important. Your thoughts are the first place of battlefield, okay? And in our thoughts, we sin more than we know. But this is how I was healed from depression, is literally holding every thought captive and making it obey to Christ. It is very tiring at first, but it is necessary, because if you want to renew your mind, Romans 12:2, renew your mind every day, then you need to be taking every thought captive. You can't do one without the other. And you have to rebuke the disobedience, right? Like when your thoughts have those temptations and stuff like that. That's what he's talking about. Verse 7. Look at what is before your eyes. If anyone is confident that he is Christ's, let him remind himself that just as he is Christ's, so also are we. For even if I boast a little too much of our authority, which the Lord gave for building you up and not for destroying you, I will not be ashamed. So Paul is very, very confident in his authority that Christ has given him, right? But we all should be, because that authority is what, that's what casts out demons. That's what heals the sick. That authority that is God's power in us. So Paul is boasting about Christ using him. Verse 9. I do not want to appear to be frightening you with my letters, for they say his letters are weighty and strong, but his bodily presence is weak and has speech of no account. Let such a person understand that what we say by letter when absent, we do when present. Ooh. So when he's present, he shows by actions. When he's far away, all he has is speech. Not that we dare, verse 12, not that we dare to classify or compare ourselves with some of those who are commending themselves, but when they measure themselves by one another and compare themselves with one another, they are without understanding. But we will not boast beyond limits, but will boast only with regard to the area of influence God has assigned to us to reach even to you. For we are not overextending ourselves as though we did not reach you. For we were the first to come all the way to you with the gospel of Christ. We do not boast beyond limit in the labors of others. But our hope is that as your faith increases, our area of influence among you may be greatly enlarged, so that we may preach the gospel in lands beyond you without boasting of work already done in another's area of influence. So he's saying that he doesn't boast in like where Peter or Apollos has spread the seed necessarily. But you have to remember, when we were reading Acts, we went through this part and they traveled all around, because it's Paul and Barnabas who like made the church of Corinth, I'm pretty sure. And so they want to go even further. But it needs to be enlarged, because I think right now they have their hands full dealing with all the people, as he had to write a lot of letters. There was no phone calls back then. You got rebuked physically. Okay. Without boasting of work already done in another's area of influence. Let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. For it is not the one who commends himself who is approved, but the one whom the Lord commends. So Paul's showing that, you can say all you want, but at the end of the day, if God is not the one backing you up, you have nothing. And you can see who God backs up. There is evidence when somebody is obviously doing the work that God has asked them to do. So the question for today, I must say, verses 3 through 6 are just top tier. We're going to read them again. For though we walk in the flesh, we are not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God. We destroy arguments and when you are following the Lord and you are walking, like you are using spiritual weapons, you can destroy every lofty opinion and argument raised against God. And you can hold every thought captive. Man, that is so good. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ, being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete. Do you fight with weapons of the flesh or weapons of the spirit? That's your question for tonight. What do you fight with? Because your fight is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and dark forces, right? That's Ephesians 6. Now, we haven't gotten there yet in our Bible studies, but what weapons are you using? And are you walking out verses 3 through 6? So, those are your questions for tonight, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.